Hello and welcome to another episode of our English podcast for beginners. Today, we have a longer, more relaxing story for you. So, get comfortable, perhaps make yourself a cup of tea, and enjoy this story titled A Day in London. It was a quiet, grey Saturday morning in the heart of London. The clouds hung low, and a soft drizzle painted the city with a cool, misty air. In a small flat near King's Cross Station, a young boy named Jake was already awake. Jake was 14 years old, full of curiosity and dreams of becoming an archaeologist one day. He had always been fascinated by history, especially the history of ancient civilizations. Jake had planned this day for weeks. He was going to visit the British Museum alone for the first time. He had visited with his school once before, but this time was different. This time, he could go at his own pace and see everything he wanted to see. He packed his small backpack with his notebook, a pencil case, a water bottle, and a sandwich his mum had made for him. Ham and cheese, his favorite. By 9 a.m., he was out the door. The streets of London were still waking up. Buses rolled by slowly, and shops began to open. Jake caught the Underground and rode the Piccadilly line. He loved riding the tube. It felt like the veins of the city, connecting everything. When he arrived at the station near the museum, he stepped out into the fresh air and smiled. The rain had stopped. As he approached the museum, he paused in front of its grand columns and impressive entrance. He took a deep breath. This was it. Inside, the museum was quiet, almost like a library. The marble floors echoed beneath his shoes as he wandered through hall after hall. He marveled at the Egyptian exhibits, mummies wrapped in linen, golden jewelry, and hieroglyphic-covered tombs. He stared at the Rosetta Stone for almost 10 minutes, imagining the scholars who had worked to decode it. Then he moved to the Greek and Roman section. Statues of gods, warriors, and philosophers surrounded him. He sat down on a bench in front of a massive marble statue of Athena and opened his notebook to sketch. He wasn't a great artist, but he liked trying to draw what he saw. A kind museum worker passed by and smiled. "You've got a good eye," she said, which made Jake feel proud. By lunchtime, the museum had become busier. Families with children, tourists with cameras, and students on school trips filled the corridors. Jake took out his sandwich and sat in the museum cafe, enjoying the peaceful atmosphere and the quiet hum of conversation around him. After lunch, Jake explored the Viking and medieval sections. He found a sword with runic carvings and imagined it being used in battle, sailing across stormy seas, or being held by a fearless warrior. In one corner, he discovered a tiny golden brooch shaped like a lion. It was over 1,000 years old. How amazing, he thought, that something so small could survive for so long. Around 2:30 p.m., Jake decided to leave the museum and take a walk through Bloomsbury. He passed lovely little cafes, quiet parks, and rows of old houses with flower boxes in the windows. He wandered into a second-hand bookshop. The smell of old paper and ink filled the air. He browsed the shelves and picked up a book called The Castles of England. It had drawings and descriptions of ancient castles across the country. He used his pocket money to buy it. Back on the street, the sky began to clear. Sunlight peeked through the clouds for the first time that day. Jake smiled. London looked different in the sun. Brighter, more cheerful, full of life. He made his way slowly towards the River Thames, stopping now and then to take pictures or jot down notes. When he reached the river, he leaned against the railing and watched the boats go by. The London Eye turned slowly in the distance, and the sound of the city buzzed gently around him. Traffic, footsteps, voices, and the occasional seagull. He stood there for a long time, thinking. He felt small, but in a good way, like he was part of something bigger. A city full of stories, just waiting to be discovered. At around 5 p.m., Jake decided it was time to go home. He caught the tube again, tired but happy. When he reached his flat, his mum greeted him with a smile and asked about his day. "Amazing," he said. "I saw everything, and I bought a book about castles." That evening, Jake sat at his desk, writing in his journal. His notes from the museum were still fresh in his mind. He wrote about the Viking sword, the Egyptian mummies, the friendly museum worker, the bookshop, and the river. He felt like he had traveled through time and across the city, all in one day. Before going to bed, he looked out the window again. The clouds had vanished, and the stars were beginning to appear. He whispered to himself, "I love this city." Then he smiled, turned off the light, and drifted into sleep, already dreaming of his next adventure.